Hey everybody, welcome back to the Conservation Conversation. This is episode 12, and today's special episode is on CBD. It's a very exciting episode because we are here at Oro, which is a pop-up store at Abbot Kinney, oro.co, and we are going to talk about various ways CBD can help you, and various ways it's helped me, and also various ways that Oro can help you learn which CBD you need to use and how to take it and what type of method. So I'm very excited for today's episode, and here we go. It's our world. Let's talk about it. That it needs to receive and the information that needs to be out there. So very exciting today. We're here at Oro. Now Oro is a way that has been designed where you can use technology to help you understand what kind of CBD you should be using, how you can use it. There's various forms of ingesting it. We're going to go over all kinds of things with CBD. So I'm very excited for today. So what I want to do is let's start off today with our quote. We always start off with a good quote. Today's quote is from Hippocrates. It is nature itself is the best physician. And think about that for a second, because what we're talking about here is we're talking about a plant that needs no refining, a plant that needs no additional work. The plant itself is our medicine. Nature itself is our best physician. So just something to think about while we're here talking about this today. So hey Mitch, okay, thanks. Hey Andrea, thanks for tuning in from Romania. And Bruce, nice to see you, Bruce. I'm glad you're in. Hey Camilla. So we've got people from almost every continent on our podcast right now. So this is great. I love when we get a nice international group like this. And by the way, anybody that's here in Los Angeles, come by and visit me. We are here on Abbot Kinney. We're right in the heart of Abbot Kinney. I believe it's 1306 Abbot Kinney, and it's oro.co. If you want to go online, we're going to go online anyway, and we're going to show you how it works. And very excited, we are going to have the founder of oro.co on with us, so he can talk more about how things will come together. So here we go. So let's start our show off today. So very, very excited. You know, one thing that I wanted to talk about first is my personal experience of how CBD works. Now, most of you that watched last week know that I went in for a biopsy, and there's my biopsy. And most of you will know, well, actually, nobody knows. I got my results back, and it is cancerous. So, I'm going to have another surgery. Hi, Linda. Hi from Lakeland. Oh, my goodness. Lakeland is, ladies and gentlemen, if you are not familiar with Lakeland, Florida is an area where they have a lot of pollution issues, and one of the massive ones is radiation, and it has an excessive cancer rate down there. There are currently lawsuits against some of the polluters in order to change it all around. So what we're going to do is talk a little bit about that. Linda, I'm really glad you're here today. Please jump in, because CBD is something that can really help with that. And that comes back to when we're talking about Lakeland and we're talking about cancer, that's what got me here for CBD as well. So like I said, that's the biopsy right there. So it did come back that we have to get a surgery there, and I have another MRI coming up. Now, the reason I bring this up is that I was diagnosed with cancer in 2005, and I ended up having a surgery a year, and I ended up on radiation for 2 years. And at the time, I was working in the entertainment industry. A lot of you know that are my friends on here, you know that I was working on Scrubs, I was at TMZ, I was in a lot of different TV shows, just doing the regular thing. And then the cancer hit. And when the cancer hit, you end up getting on all these different pills and drugs, and they keep you on this endless cycle of drugs that's just horrendous. And my best friend for years and years and years brought over this jar of CBD, and I never heard of CBD. And he said, here, just try this, use this. So I don't know what this is. What do you do? So he explained it to me. And I will tell you right now, CBD took away all the pain I had from all those pills. And CBD gave me a second chance at life. I am a huge advocate of CBD. And that's why I'm very proud to be doing this podcast today about CBD here in a place that is designed to help everyone access CBD. Because when you first hear about it, it's confusing and there's not a lot of information. If anything, there's misinformation. There is information about how dangerous it is, or you see things on the news about how, you have to be careful, and you do. And here's the other thing is, if you go through a reputable company like Oro, you are going to find top quality CBD guaranteed. You're not going to get placebo. You're not going to get watered down stuff. And trust me, this stuff works great. Now, I bring this up because Preemptive, here's my shirt. Oh, there we go. Preemptive is one of the brands that's here. And it's a wonderful connection because Preemptive is a company, like I said, Paul just started to give CBD out to people that had different forms of suffering and different types of issues. And, this is what Oro is about too. It comes from a place of love, because what they're trying to do is allow people to find the best CBD solutions. And that's for us and for our pets, by the way. There's CBD for your dog and your cat. My dog's old. He's, you guys know Marty. He's a good man. He's an old man, but, he doesn't jump up on the bed as well anymore. And he needs a little bit of that. So no, it's not an infomercial. I am just a huge advocate. But what I wanted to do was talk a little bit about how CBD works. And then let's get everybody informed on this. So, okay, guys, here we go. So what I'd like to do is CBD is, what is it? Well, it's a cannabinoid, which is one of 113 that's in the plants. So this means that it's a very abundant. Now, how that works is these are endocannabinoid system, which is actually part of our body. And this is a natural thing that we have in our body. So what happens is the CBD, or the cannabinoids, come into the endocannabinoid system and affect different receptors in different areas. And I'd like to just show you guys this cool program here, because if you're like me, you either didn't pay attention in in high school and you didn't really learn this type of stuff, or you maybe have never even thought to take the time to learn it before. So I think it's important that, and Linda, this is exactly what we're talking about. Linda brings up, I believe our body will heal itself. And you know what, Linda? I think you're right. And I think that what happens is the body tries to return to what's called homeostasis, which is the neutral balance. So that's what I wanted to bring up, this little chart here for you guys, because you can understand the key, the lock, and how it unlocks those aspects. Now, CBD, now one thing I do want to mention, guys, a lot of people that use CBD do not want to use THC or cannabis. CBD will not get you high. CBD will not, it doesn't affect you on a drug test. It doesn't affect your brain at all. It actually goes to different receptors in your body than THC or cannabis or marijuana, whatever you want to call it, goes to what are called the CB receptors. And there's two different versions of CB receptors if you see the human cell. So your THC is affecting part of your body, and the CBD is actually going in and affecting the other parts of your body that will actually help out with a lot of things. Now, the reason I wanted to bring this up is because I thought this was really interesting. The 5-HT1A serotonin receptor is directly activated by CBD. So CBD has a lot of anti-anxiety. And Mitch, I do agree. THC is a wonderful thing. I happen to be a big fan of both THC and CBD. So CBD, it directly, think about this, guys, it directly activates a receptor that affects your anxiety, addiction, appetite, sleep, pain, perception, nausea, and vomiting. So for me personally, when I was going through all of my stuff, that was one thing, was nausea. CBD eliminated it. It's amazing. Now, I personally, I take, you can get a tincture, and I take the tincture for CBD, which I love. You can also get a cream. There's a sports cream that's good for, topical issues. There are pills you can take. There's gummies you can take. But listen, if you're going to buy some for your pet, make sure you don't use the same CBD you're using. They're made with different oils, and it's not good for animals to have the same thing that humans have, which is why CBD for pets is a special thing. All right. So yeah, I agree, Mitch. It helps me sleep and relax too. And that's another aspect of medicine. THC is now being recognized, and you guys, you got to think about this. This is the same plant. I mean, whether it's coming through for hemp or coming through for THC use. One of the things about radiation is you start to lose your hope, and THC doesn't make you giggly and funny and stuff. When you're on these kind of intense medications, THC just basically gives you a little bit of a lift up and lets you want to see tomorrow. I'm not going to lie, everybody. You get into really dark places when you have to battle cancer. It's nothing that nobody else goes through. I mean, we all have our issues we have to face. What I call our sharpening stones, our problems that give us focus and give us a future. And so for me, it happened to be cancer. For people, it's other things. But CBD, honestly, is the only thing. I mean, look, guys, I was having muscle spasms. I couldn't work. I'd be in a meeting and I would crash out on the floor in these seizures. And I didn't know what would happen tomorrow. I didn't know if tomorrow would even really be worth it. And I tell you what, after I started taking CBD, I was in the Amazon jungle. I was 3,000 miles away from civilization, and I was busting, illegal pet trades. And then I was in the South China Seas busting illegal fishing inside of marine protected areas. And I'm about to go do some more crazy stuff. And some of you might even know my other project I worked on, which took me to some crazy areas as well. Alicia's here. Alicia has a lot of experience. And Alicia, if you wouldn't mind also jumping in a little bit, I would love to hear what you think about CBD. If you want to call me, if anybody wants to Skype me, you can Skype me. My Skype is ericecrown@protonmail.com, and I'll put you on the show. We don't have to have it rehearsed. I don't need to know you're going to call. Just give me a call. My Skype's open, and my line is always open. And I think that's important because I love to hear the feedback from everybody. And Bruce, yeah, it's no problem, Bruce. Like I said, it's just, it's what we all go through. So Linda, I just wanted to give you more of an understanding of, I don't know where I'd be today if it wasn't for CBD. It gave me a second chance at life. So I am a huge advocate. I might sound like a zealot. That's me. That's what we're doing here. So that's why when Oro invited me to come down, I got super stoked. So anyway, let's talk a little bit more about CBD, because I want to just give you guys the basics so that we can eliminate some questions. So we've gone over the fact that it does not make you high. CBD is not going to psychoactively start anything. It's going to relax your body. It's different nerve receptors like we talked about. So THC goes to one part and gives you a certain thing going on. CBD goes to another part, gives you a different thing going on. And I can't even explain the feeling. It's almost like the absence of pain instead of that medicinal feeling of healing that you get if you're taking like an aspirin or something. And again, we're going to come back to this, but aspirin comes from plants. See, Alicia says CBD and medical marijuana saved your life. Alicia, could you tell us how CBD, if you don't mind sharing with us your pain that you go through and how CBD helped you out with that? Because I'd really love to hear some more about that. And while we're waiting for her to write in about that, we are going to, I wanted to also talk to you guys about, Camilla says, use it to ease anxiety and sleep. And Camilla, that's a fantastic use for it. Here's the thing, guys. If you're on cancer like me and you're on these medications, CBD is going to make you feel normal. If you sprain your wrist and you have some CBD, it's going to make you feel great. If you just have anxiety, it's going to make you feel good. CBD has a wide range of uses that they haven't really gone too far into. I mean, we're still at the beginning of understanding this. So that's why it's exciting for us to be here today too and talk about it, because yeah, from anxiety to leukemia, CBD really offers a wide range of issues. And what I wanted to talk about that actually brings that in is I wanted to talk about plants as medicine. We're going to come back to that, guys. Sorry. What I wanted to talk about first is it's not a weird thing to think that plants are our medicine. Over 74% of the pharmaceutical drugs that we have in our country are derived from plants. Almost all of medicine, just think about that for a second. Almost all the medicine we have is derived from plants. Now, what's cool about CBD is that you don't have to transfer it into a pill like all these other things. So the 20 best-selling prescription drugs in the United States all come from plants. I didn't know that till today. Thought that was really cool, very interesting. The other thing I thought was interesting is that as a cancer patient, over 3/4 of the anti-tumor compounds used in medicine are from natural products, which are plants. This is amazing. Of the 140 anti-cancer agents approved since 1940, over 60% can be traced to a plant. Which brings me back to this, which I really loved. I saw this today, and it starts at 2000 BC, right? Here, eat this root. And then 1000, that root is heathen. Here, say this prayer. And then that prayer is superstition. Here, drink this potion in 1850. And then in 1940, that potion is snake oil. Here, swallow this pill. And then in 1980, that pill is ineffective. Here, take this antibiotic. And then our circle comes full ground. That antibiotic is artificial. Here, eat this root. So, 2000 BC to 2000 AD, we've come full circle in understanding the plants are medicine. And with that amount of chemotherapy drugs being used that are derived from plants, it brings us back to, if you guys remember episode 4, we talked about biopiracy. What's amazing about CBD is that there's no biopiracy involved. There's nothing like that. It's an open for everybody. It's kind of like an open source thing that we have, which means that a lot of companies can offer a lot of ways to help you, and that's what brings us back to learning how we're going to best approach what's going to work best for us. And everybody is individually, it's different. Every body reacts differently. Now, just keep in mind, CBD has no known negative effects. It has been used in a wide variety, like we just talked about, of tons of different issues that people can have. Yes, Linda says now most drugs are synthetics of plants. Exactly, I agree. And Mitch brings up a great point. What else is in these prescriptions? If they're taking the root from our plants, what else are they adding? And the beauty of CBD is that we're staying away from all that. It's not a plant that needs to be transformed into a pill through some magical laboratory. CBD is an organic process that's then built organically for use. So it's very different. It's a plant that is medicine without having to really be transferred over. And I always come back to, in the Amazon, there's an amazing oyster mushroom that grows out there, and it's the very first paracetamol. So when you're out there and you're in the jungle and you're hurt, you just scrape a little bit of this mushroom and you eat it, and it's the same thing. So we have to always remember that we've been raised and trained to think about Tylenol and Bayer, who's now Monsanto, as our solutions. And there may be some good things that have come through medicines, but one thing in that is that we've lost our identity of knowing our own nature around us and our own plants around us. And some of us have friends that have holistic knowledge. Some of us have friends that do these types of, like me, that swear by CBD. And that's where the conversations really get started, because we're not going to find a lot of the information very prevalent. So like we had talked about, we had we talked about poaching with Jonathan in South Africa. He talked about the re-education of needing to reapproach the world in a new way. And I do want to come back to the fact, CBD, this is not about re-education. They have not allowed enough education out. So this is the beginning of education. So even me using CBD for years, I'm still learning, and there's still a lot to be learned, and there's still a lot to go on, which is cool because my guest today comes from a more scientific background and is trying to find a way to help people like me connect with the right CBD. So it is exciting, and I keep coming back to that because it's confusing. I mean, you're going to go buy CBD you don't know. Do you buy some gummies? Do you want 1,000 milligrams? What do you want? So that's where we need to have a handle. We need to have an access point to make sure that what we're getting is helping us properly. Now, my Aunt Betsy says, so this is not the same as the reefer plant. Okay, so the hemp plant is, without getting too technical about it, basically the hemp plant, when it grows, they both stem from the same basic plant. One of them will have a high level of THC, which will come through in a cannabis plant. And then one of them will have a very low, almost indiscernible amount, which is a hemp plant. Just for simplicity's sake, there's a difference between, growing cannabis and growing hemp. So Aunt Betsy, the CBD comes from the hemp plant, and it has no psychoactive element. Well, it has a small, teeny trace. It does need a touch of THC to activate. Now, the federal levels, I believe, are 0.3%, which means that if you do take CBD, and they call it full spectrum, if you take CBD that's full spectrum, it has a little bit of THC there that helps activate the CBD within your body. And we just went over that endocannabinoids. So it's not going to ever show up. I have friends that are nurses that use CBD all the time. They have to do drug tests. It's not going to affect you in that way. And we need to not think of CBD as cannabis or marijuana. It's a different thing. Again, you can use CBD. You're not going to have any psychoactive effects. It's going to just relax your body for me, in the most amazing way, the only way that's really gotten me back out from the house. So I wanted to just go over what Alicia put on here because I think this is an important thing to talk about. Now, Alicia says she was on 10 years of morphine. Now, she suffers from a rare disease called sarcoidosis. And Alicia she's very modest, but she's actually a big advocate for the rights and for testing and for medicine for sarcoidosis advancement. So she's in DC. She does a lot of work, and she is a major activist for the water and for people and for patients. So her experience is it's very, and she's been taken very ill. And I've known Alicia for a few years now, and she fights through it all the time. And she's like me. Every day is not wake up and what are we going to do today? Every day is how can we make it through this day? How can we manage our pain? How can we make this a great day? And so we kind of start off a slight bit different than most people think in the morning. So anyway, she was saying that she was on medications like chemotherapy and nothing worked. 6 years ago, she detoxed off morphine and all other medication and started using CBD. It's been an amazing journey. I just can't even imagine, Alicia. But she says my CBD and medical marijuana helps me keep me active. It keeps my pain levels down so I can exercise. Otherwise, I'll be back in bed again. Exactly. Love CBD. And you're a rare disease advocate. And I hope you're able to share your CBD experience with everybody out there. I know you're like me. You're also... most of us are actually. You use CBD a little bit and suddenly you kind of become a bit of a CBD zealot. You're like, you got to try this. Guys, my mom is using it. She's 70. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. She's good. Oh my gosh, I'm in trouble now. Sorry, Mom. She's 29. But she uses it to manage her pain. My stepfather was in his 80s, manages pain with it too. So, it's not for... So again, I want to take away that stigma that it comes with because it's totally different. Linda, the ill effects of THC. Very interesting question, Linda. We'll actually, we can go over that on a different one. Personally, I've never had any, but I know that some people can have issues if they use the wrong type of THC. Again, guys, I'm personally, I do use it, but I have a lot of friends that use CBD that never touch THC. They do not always go hand in hand. For some people, they do. That's a personal choice, but CBD is not needed. Like I said, my dog Marty uses CBD, and it's the only way that he can jump up on the bed. And if I miss giving him his pet CBD, he can't. I have to pick him up. He's 13, by the way. So anyway, he's doing that. So yeah, Aunt Betsy, I'm glad. I wanted to just explain that. And your question is a great question because a lot of people do get it mixed up in understanding, because you'll see the like what it looks like a marijuana leaf, and it's used for the word hemp, and it's used for the word, cannabis, and so it's confusing. And that's one of the things I wanted to do today, was to help kind of dispel any of the myths and misconceptions about this plant. Carrie says my in-laws are in their 80s and they love it. I think that is awesome, Carrie. I love that. That is great. That is great, and I'm glad it's bringing them relief. Do they have, do they have illnesses, or are they, or is it just from, old age, just the regular creaks and groans we all end up with? So I'd love to know more about what they're doing. And also I'm wondering, do they use it as a tincture? So, okay, so let's get back to it, guys. Let's get back to, again, I just wanted to bring in, and this brings up my Aunt Betsy's question, and I don't want to harp on this, guys, but I think it's really important we talk about this. The human endocannabinoid system. Again, if you look at that, THC unlocks the CB1 receptors, which you can look at this little body, and it's all the light-colored ones. And CBN and CBD unlock CB2 receptors, which are not the same thing. So please understand, the CBD is going to affect your body different than THC. As a matter of fact, CBD can sometimes be used in cooking to counteract the effects of THC, although sometimes it will enhance them. And, Linda says lost 13-year-old. Oh, I'm sorry. I know it's hard. Okay, Carrie says no, just working all their life and age. So that's where we have it. It really has a wide variety of use. And again, I don't want to be overly, crazy about my CBD, but I'm telling you guys, honestly, I thought I had been defeated. I was pretty much done. I don't talk to a lot of people about this, but I feel like it's important to share this now. I was done. I was really done. After 2 years of radiation, I lost my eyebrows, as most of you know, they're growing back. I grow my hair out for 2 weeks. It looks like a baby's head. It'll never come back. But honestly, if it weren't for CBD, I would still be in bed. I'd be in pain. And this is the other thing people don't talk about. Like, my seizures I had and my muscle spasms, you can't get out of bed. The idea of getting out and walking Marty was insane. So, I just think, and Linda says, our world would be so much more or less violent if we could grow our own natural herbs. Linda, I agree 100%. I agree 100%. This is going to come back to us being a community, because in the 50s, we walked away from being a community, and we gave the corporations the right to grow our food, and companies like Kraft became food companies, and farmers like my family's farmers from Illinois, they had to go to the side. So, they ended up having to sell to a bigger farm. The small farmer's pretty much gone, and we are in a rethinking. We're looking at the climate. We're looking at the amount of illness that we have. We are looking at how this unnatural world is causing destruction beyond our knowledge. And okay, these may have been unintended consequences, but they are consequences nonetheless. And there are consequences that children and some of us adults are focused on changing. Mo got to go. So yeah, anyway, I just, I wanted to bring that in because CBD goes beyond everything. It goes beyond politics. And again, please take cannabis and marijuana out of the equation. We don't want to really talk about those things. So, and we are here. We're at a live event, and I don't know if anybody that's coming out here might want to hop on camera.
I don't know if you want to hop on camera, but
with me. Yeah.
Like some basic questions. You see, like CBD does everything. I'm trying to work out what is best for you.
Yes, well, that's
pain
actually
relief, help to sleep. What else does it do?
So, okay, guys, we've got somebody who doesn't want to be on camera. No problem. But we're gonna talk. This is a great experience. We can talk about some CBD. So, CBD, what it can do is it can. It's almost like the best way to start describing it is like a natural aspirin. Like it can take away almost any pain. I mean, we've had people that had arthritis to people that sprain their wrist. I personally have cancer. So I use it to battle against radiation treatments and all the pills and chemo and all that stuff. CBD was the only thing that actually stopped the pain from those medications. But for example, if you sprain your shoulder, you can use some CBD cream and it will just immediately make that pain disappear within a few minutes. It's really an amazing thing. That's why I was telling them too, like once you start to use it, you become kind of a zealot about it. You know, I just had my mom start using it as well. I mean, if you have any particular things you're fighting against, you know, or diseases or illnesses or anything, what I recommend is like a tincture. Because you drink it with a little bit of, like, I use almond milk or soy milk. You know, you can use regular milk too. It has to attach to like a fatty molecule. But you drink a little bit of this tincture, and
what is a tincture? Sorry,
tincture it's like an oil-based. It's an oil-based thing that you can use either drops in your mouth or in the water, and it has the CBD infused into it at different milligrams. And again, we went over this, but just to let you guys know that CBD has no THC effects. It's not psychoactive. You don't get high at all. But if you say you have a pain and you take like a aspirin, for example, you're going to feel in a way the aspirin start to kick in. You know, people say, "Oh, my aspirin's kicking in, and I feel better now." But you can feel the aspirin in a sense. When you take your CBD, you'll just notice the absence of whatever was bothering you before, and it's almost like you entirely forget about it. And it's amazing, and yeah, I think it's, you know, but it depends on your use and your need.
Cream or drops or these gummies to sleep. I mean, what is it?
So, you know, okay, now this was the question, everybody. Sorry, we're doing the live podcast, so I'm just translating it over. So the question was, what's the best type to use? Now, this is a really good question because if, for example, you're just having anxiety, the gummies are fantastic because the gummies, you can eat them a little bit, they just absorb in, and it's almost like if you have a little bit of, like people will take melatonin sometimes to get you that calm effect. You're going to notice that same thing, and suddenly you're just going to be...
The gummies would take a while, right, to kick in, no?
They can take up to about 40 minutes because of the way that it'll digest through your system. Sure. Now, you get the tinctures, you take the shot of it, it goes right into your stomach. It usually affects me in about 15, 20 minutes.
So it's always the same CBD in all of these products, right?
Yes, correct. It's the same basic CBD. There is a danger that some people say we have this much CBD, and it really isn't that much CBD in the product. So when you're buying CBD, it's good to go through companies that guarantee it, which is why Oro is important. You know, I don't work for Preemptive. I'm just a big advocate because this is what I use to get over through my cancer pain. But
you
yeah,
take
and again,
the trinkets on a daily basis.
I do. Yeah, I get up in the morning.
Take it.
Yes.
Yeah?
The question was, is it dangerous for pregnancies? The answer is no. It's completely safe, and it's so safe that the U.S. government patented it in 2003 because they wanted to make sure that everybody would have access to it. So it's, you know, they patented it because it has no known ill effects. I will always say to people, make sure to consult and talk to your doctor, you know, if you've got something to make sure. But, you know, like if you just have a soreness on your, you know, a wrist or your arm, then the topical is the way to go. Because the topical is going to just affect it directly. You know, do you guys also use CBD or? Okay.
I just had a smoothie with CBD in.
Oh, fantastic.
And I can't quite work out if it's done something, but probably.
Probably it'll take a few minutes, but you know, what you're going to notice is just if you had like a little backache or your shoulder was bothering you, or you just felt a little even tired, you're going to suddenly feel.
Great.
There you go. She said it perfectly. Great. I always say you feel like caramelly inside almost. It's this. Yeah.
It's like being stoned without being stoned.
Correct. Yeah. It's and we talked about this a little earlier. It's amazing because THC affects some of your receptors in your body, which are called the CB1 receptors. CBD affects what are called CB2 receptors. So they're totally different parts of your body that interact with it entirely.
What concentration should I look for then? So you said it's 0.
So yeah, exactly. I would recommend to start low.
What's low?
You can get, for example, Preemptive has tinctures at 250 milligrams. And what I would recommend is you take that and you put like, say, a half a dropper full in, take a shot, see how you feel in about a half hour. It takes about a half hour maybe for your system to absorb it. And if you're still a little anxious or you're feeling a little whatever, just you can always add it. And the beauty of CBD is you're never gonna overdose it. Like if you have too much CBD, you'll just feel really relaxed, and you can modify your, you can modify it after that.
It says a percentage CBD content. Do I pay attention to that or not?
Yes, yeah, because they're going to affect how strong it works. For example, there's 1,000 milligram CBD. That's very potent. I was at an event a few weeks ago, and the security guard had this huge swelling in his hand, and I just gave him some, and he rubbed it on, and I'm not even exaggerating. 20 minutes later, it was like down. So, if you have mild pain, get 250 milligrams, because they charge different depending on the milligrams that's involved. But it can go from 250 up to 1,000. I take 1,000 just because my pain is pretty intense every day. I deal with cancer side effects. So for me, it's important to have that. So again, if you're doing chronic illness and you're fighting something on a day-to-day basis that people don't even know about, we all have our fights and our battles, then my personal feeling is you get the tincture, start with the 250, see how it goes. You can always increase it.
So you reckon go with tincture? That's the best thing. Okay.
Yeah, I think so for a full body.
There's no point in doing anything low because it won't do anything. The concentration that you need to actually have an effect on the human body, you're just doing small, but like all the stuff that say, a couple of drops won't do jack shit. Won't do jack shit. I've had you've taken it in the office like 20, 30 things, and it hardly does it. Obviously, I smoke a lot of weed, so it's going to have an effect on me.
Sure.
Do you build up resistance to it?
Yeah, I use THC a lot as well. Don't worry, we don't know who you are.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody sees you, just me. It's just me, guys. So you guys are free. This is good though, because you're free to speak openly, which I appreciate.
Oh, is this being recorded?
Yeah, we're live right now.
Oh, I didn't know that. Anyway, Brian, you shouldn't be saying this.
Who lives at 177 Santa Monica.
So you can build up resistance to it over time.
CBD,
I've been doing a lot of research.
personally for me, I find that it always affects me pretty much the same way. I mean, I don't know for you, but did you find your CBD resistance built, or is it built slowly over
I
time?
haven't really taken enough of it. I've tried different ones because in Europe it's very different now what they're doing. And in every country has different legislation.
Correct,
so
yeah.
The concentration, I was at...
Where are you from?
London.
From London, okay.
From London.
I have some people on our podcast right now from London. So we're there as well. You guys want to be on camera? Come sit with me. Okay. Hey guys, come on in. We're going to, hold on everybody. I've got some friends visiting us. I'm going to switch over to...
OBS.
Let's get rid of this. Yep, this is my OBS. And let's make sure our chat's running here. What we've got, so you guys know, so I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we have a live chat that runs, okay, here we go. We have a live chat that runs, here we are, and they can ask questions to us as well. So I've got some people right now in London, so this is why it's fascinating to hear what you're talking about.
It's become really obviously it's huge over here now, but in Europe, I was actually at a conference, the XL Arena in London, CBD conference a couple of months ago.
Oh, really?
And some of my business partners they just raised the money, 10 million, to start a factory in Poland.
Wow.
To produce CBD extract.
Is Poland allowed in, do they allow it? Okay.
It's different. Obviously, the legislation's changed.
So I understand France's issues.
Yeah, because obviously it's also about percentage. Some countries are 0.02, sometimes are 0.3. But you'll find in Europe, like Germany and Switzerland, are far more developed than the other countries. Because
Switzerland,
still a stigmatism
Germany.
involved.
Yeah, because people still associate it sort of with the old stigmatism of THC.
How long have you been using it or
CBD? Well, as a quick thing.
Sorry, what's your name, my friend? Sorry.
Hi, I'm Eric.
Eric.
Hey.
Hey,
nice to meet you. No, I'm a big fan of CBD.
Okay.
I'm actually a conservation filmmaker. So my story is I got cancer in 2005, and I had about 10 years of surgeries and 2 years radiation. I lost my eyebrows and everything.
Very good, my man.
And
very good.
I was on my last legs, and my friend who owns this company started to give me CBD, which I did not believe would work, because I didn't believe that a plant could combat the power of the drugs that I was on. But long story short, it gave me a second chance at life. And within 6 months, I was in the Amazon jungle,
Story to him, man.
busting
That's a
illegal
beautiful story to
pet
hear.
trade. And then a few months later,
That's a
I was
beautiful
in
story.
South China Seas, busting illegal fishing in marine protected
Wow,
areas. And
that
now,
sounds so amazing. I work in film.
oh, do you?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm a
Well,
publicist.
hi. What's your name?
Christelle.
Hi, Christelle.
Hi.
Christelle, this.
Hi.
Say hi to
Hello.
everybody.
Hi, everyone.
All right, so she just popped in. We've got an open seat here, so we're inviting everybody to join us. Now, do you use CBD?
I've never used it before, but I was just looking at getting something for my dad because he has arthritis on his knee, and I have RSI on my arm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so those, and have you guys thought about using a topical, or have you been thinking about tincture, or are you just sort of here to kind of figure out the best approach?
Yeah, I mean, I have no idea. I've never done any of it, so I just was yeah. I mean, you know, the roll-on balm thing felt quite nice on the arm. But I wasn't sure really what the best route is. So maybe because.
But I mean, I think for those types of issues, and you can chime in too. I'd love to hear because obviously you got a lot of passion for CBD too.
Yeah,
but
it's interesting to him, and I'm always interested to hear. It sounds.
It's always can learn,
story
right?
Like yours is a beautiful story.
Yeah, CBD is a
That's
very
really beautiful.
well, thanks.
That.
Well,
That's a lovely thing to
it's
hear.
an inspirational story.
Well, the way that I see it is, we all have. I call it my sharpening stone because my life was headed in a very boring direction, and I wasn't really where I was supposed to be, and so the cancer. We all have, I believe, in our lives something that totally flattens us, and then you rebuild yourself, and at that point, that's your sharpening stone for your soul, and that creates the rest of your path and the rest of your life. And a lot of us, we all have it, I believe. I mean, whether it's cancer or whatever it is, we're all going through a hidden story. We all have a secret battle, and all of us, and that's it's what's amazing because when you look around, everybody's a survivor, and that, and people don't generally talk about it, but that's what I love about CBD is it can help everybody quietly and privately also, and allow them to combat those kind of issues privately. And I mean, I've been on and off different. I hate pills. I don't like pain drugs. CBD is the only thing I use to manage pain. But what I was going to say for both of you guys, I think it would be a topical would be the best way to go because what you can do is you can rub it directly on where the pain is, and it's going to go right in. So whether it's the knee or the hand or your shoulder, anywhere, get some cream, and they've got a bunch of samples here today too to try. I use it, and Preemptive. I always recommend. The other brands here are really good too. The reason I like Preemptive is it's based on a recipe from my friend's grandfather in France, in the old province of France. So it's all organic, all natural, and all of it is 100% guaranteed. So it comes from an old herbal recipe and
Always
with a
the
modern
best.
twist. Yeah. So that's mine. I don't know the other brands. They're probably really great too.
Has it always been CBD for you, Eric? Because obviously,
I'm on a live.
I've been doing a lot of research
Live
like the
Facebook
last
stream.
6 months here. I've been going to conferences, and a lot of the things that even the guys in the industry when I'm meeting people, they don't even realise that the difference between CBD, also what's full spectrum.
Correct.
They don't understand that CBD is just an isolate. It's
Correct.
just an isolate.
Yeah.
And in the cannabis plant, there's 120 different cannabinoids. CBD is just one.
Exactly.
Right? The other 119 cannabinoids, as far as we know, really are probably going to have even more better effects than just CBD. But they don't.
They
The
haven't
research
even-
is just starting.
Exactly.
Like CBD retails at what? Anywhere between 3.5 to 7.5 per kilo. CBG retails at 20,000 per kilo.
Amazing.
And now
Amazing.
they're looking into all the other cannabinoids, and it's beautiful to hear your story. To be honest, that just touched me, man. It just touched
thank
me
you.
because to hear the therapeutic effects, and now in the pharmaceutical industry,
Hey, you've
in
got a little
Switzerland,
one.
it's huge.
The little roller.
But in a lot of countries, we're very, very
Because
far
everybody's
behind.
doing
But Switzerland and Germany and Europe are always the sort of countries that take it that are much more advanced.
Yeah.
But hearing, so I saw a comparison recently before
Yeah,
a few weeks
I've
ago.
kind
I
of
went
reached
to
my limit, I think.
a
I'm
conference
gonna get it
in the
online.
UK,
Yeah.
and it's doing a comparison of all the CBD, about 10 different CBD products in America. And it's like half of them not even got enough a percentage of CBD to do anything. So it's like these
Exactly.
guys are just using the marketing to use.
These horrible little samples that give you 20 milligrams.
20 milligrams.
And I'm like, what? And they're charging people 15, 20 bucks for these.
20 milligrams of CBD is going to do nothing.
Did you guys hear that? Now, this is a really important thing to know. If you see those little samples and they're very small amount of milligrams of CBD, it's not going to do what you want it to do. It's a little different on the topical, but we're talking about when you get into ingestion, what do you think's the minimum people should be ingesting or looking for on a label? Like maybe 500?
I would have thought so. To have a reasonable effect.
Yeah, I agree.
500.
Because it's not like marijuana where if you get too much, you're too high.
Yeah, exactly.
You're going to still be doing it. So.
Very important.
Are you heading out? All right.
Bye, everyone.
You're going to go try some?
Yeah.
Will you come back and show us what caught your interest? Okay. Fantastic. Thanks.
Really nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Oh, you got to head out as well?
I'm going to see what these guys are doing, but I'll probably come back.
Yeah, please do. Please do. I'd love to know what you think about what's going on there and talk to you some more. So there we go, everybody. That was pretty amazing. That was a group that's here looking at CBDs. Let's catch back up on what everybody had to say, and then we're going to bring the founder of Oro on to talk to us a little bit more and to help us get a little bit more of an idea of how you can get a handle on finding the right CBD for you. And it's really cool. This is a custom tailored thing that they've got going on here that I've never seen before, and I wish would have been around when I started doing it. But Andreas, we have a big audience. It was nice. That's it's always great to hear everyone's stories about CBD. From beginning to never having used it before. It's fascinating. So, yes, Linda, I did. I do not use pharmaceuticals anymore. Occasionally they give them to me, but I prefer not. When I had my biopsy done, it hurt. The first night you get all that pain, and it was CBD, no problem. So there we go. Mitch, I want to say the same thing about you, man. Mitch, you are a guy that I met in Florida that jumps into the trenches and exposes in the same way that I do. So to me, that is I think that's the key. And we are right time here. And you know what, Linda, I agree. It's too expensive. This is my one complaint about medical marijuana and about CBD is once you get done with all your chemo and you get done with your radiation and all the stuff you have to deal with for your chronic illness, CBD is still highly priced. So I know people in the field are trying to bring prices down. A lot of that has to do with the uncertainty in the marketplace and how they're trying to weirdly regulate it. So I just wanted to bring that up, which also, guys, I want to show you. This is, like I was talking about before, in 2003, the U.S. government patented marijuana and CBD. But look at that, cannabinoids as antioxidants and neuroprotectants. They patented this so that people wouldn't steal and hold CBD at ransom for us. So there you go, crazy. Thank you, Andrea. Hey, that's exactly it. You got to be positive always. All right, guys. So here we go. We got a little bit of a crazy show today, but if you're available, I'd love to bring on the founder of Oro and help us talk a little bit more about what we've got going on here. Here we go. And welcome. Let's get this adjusted. It's a little ragtag today, but
Hi, guys.
We're pretty good. Everybody, this is Thorin Stevens, who is the founder and CEO of Oro.co, and he's the one that put together this pop-up store. And what I want to do is, and guys, please feel free to ask questions because he'll answer your questions. So we're just going to talk a little bit about how this came about and to help you guys understand a little bit more about what's happening right now. So to start out with, if you could just give us a little bit of background and tell us how we ended up here.
Awesome, yeah. So hi everyone, my name is Thorin Stevens. I'm the founder and CEO of Oro.co. My background's in molecular biology. Grew up in the Bay Area and was really indoctrinated with technology in general, but was really called to plant medicines at a pretty early age. Visited the upper Andes and Amazon when I was about 15 years old, and that was pretty transformational in my experience. And when I went to school, I studied biotechnology, was working on a PhD and dropped out and ultimately jumped into drug development, doing small molecule drug therapeutics, focused in areas like infectious disease with microbes like Candida albicans and Aspergillus nigilans, which are pathogenic fungi, essentially. And spent the first half of my career in biotech, transitioned out essentially into digital. So started building like digital ecosystems that really functioned for user measurement, and then ultimately using that data to drive optimization around whatever it might be. So worked in e-commerce a long time. I was also the chief digital officer at American Apparel and ran their global business at about 400 million in the digital P&L for about 2 years. And after that was just a bit disenchanted with retail in general. Went to Mongolia, meditated in a snow cave, and decided I needed to do something a little bit better with my life. And so Oro is really a reflection of that. It's I would say an amalgamation of my passions, both in plant medicines as well as machine learning, and the idea that you can have a more individualized, essentially recommendation for health.
It sounds like this is the perfect spot. You're the perfect guy to help us bring this here, because this has been a big issue with CBD, we were talking about it briefly before, but accessibility to CBD. A lot of people don't know where to start. Like even today, we're getting questions about, where do we even begin? And guys, we're going to jump onto the website in a few minutes also to go through it and to talk about it. But I'm curious, you had this path. Why CBD?
Yeah. So about 3 years ago now, one of my best friends, his name's Sean Gray. He's a local yogi here in Los Angeles. His daughter, Sequoia, she was about 2, maybe 2.5 at the time, started having seizures out of nowhere. And they would be, up to, dozens, if not 100 a day. And the traditional Western medical recommendation was essentially a bevy of pharmaceuticals. And again, coming from that world, it just didn't really align with Sean, her father. It just didn't make sense. And ultimately, we found Charlotte's Web, and Josh Stanley, one of the Stanley brothers, helped with the dosing. And the seizures went away and have maybe reoccurred a couple times since. And so for me, coming from the data science side, what I found was that there was a lot of anecdotal data. There at that time was not a lot of clinical data. And there really was not a trusted discovery mechanism to buy the products, to help guide you through, and then ultimately to purchase them. And especially in this world of snake oil, CBD is absolutely everywhere. And so that's ultimately why we designed Oro.co. And it's the the joining of the anecdotal, so people actually saying whether or not the products work for them at what dosing, and then we have a clinical and medical advisory board, so merging the anecdotal with the clinical data, again with that vision of having a more a specific or individualized recommendation for health.
So that's great. So you get an actual sort of professional recommendation, but then you also get to match that against the experience of everybody. So it's very much like what we have here at the Conservation Conversation, where we try to all teach each other, and we all try to be there for each other and fill in the missing puzzle pieces, because there's always a different aspect to look into. So
100%, and it's really that kind of holistic collective good that we're pushing towards. My perspective is that it's really there's just a lot of snake oil out there, and ultimately it comes down to the consumer to say whether or not the product's working for them, if the dosing is working, and so forth. And so we really give those tools essentially to the consumers to say whether or not it's been efficacious. And every day here, so this we're here in Venice on Abbot Kinney. We're doing essentially an experiential retail event, and the idea was taking our online experience offline and bringing it in store so people can come in and actually discover the products. We brought in about half a dozen hemp plants, and for all the CBD there is, like everywhere, people have not actually touched the plant. We thought that was really important. So they can touch the plant, they can actually go through the discovery, and there's 6 benefits that we've aligned around, and I would say the top 3 are going to be things like calm, people looking for calming, or anxiety, although technically we can't say anxiety, pain relief, and sleep are really the top 3. And people are desperate for plant-based, non-pharma alternatives, and this gives them a forum to ultimately connect with the different products and ultimately the plant.
And and that's another important aspect. I was talking to somebody earlier that's having issues with sleeping, and they were asking about gummies.
Sure.
I have a lot of friends that have transitioned from using things like Tylenol PM, or different even melatonin pills or whatever, just to CBD.
Absolutely.
So I was going to say now, one of our viewers here, Camilla, a friend of mine in England, says that she had the same. Her children had seizures. So if people were experiencing seizures or those type of effects, is there a particular type of CBD you recommend, or is how would you?
It's a really complex conversation. We have a number of very close friends and family with children with autism or children who are having seizures. And what I found in going down this path over the last couple of years is that most medical professionals are just not trained, and so they don't have the education to really guide the consumer to the right direction and source and so forth. So it's a really big challenge, and we've been seeing these clusters of people. Grandparents are one major cluster, parents are another, people in sports and recovery, and even addiction recovery. And unfortunately, there really isn't a structured framework to really help parents, in my mind. And I'm a little bit shocked. And specifically, as we've gone down this road, parents with children with autism, and they're desperate because they're essentially testing pharmaceuticals on their children. And you don't necessarily know what the outcome is going to be, or you have one side effect that is ultimately impacting the child, and so it's just a very tough consideration. And the best there are some like tools or forums out there, but a lot of the information is coming out of like Facebook groups. So we're actually building a community component of our website where people just can contribute freely and say what's working, what's not. But unfortunately in the United States anyway, there's not a lot of like guided medical I would say advice that parents can utilize. From a product basis though, I always say it's best to talk to your pediatric your physician, but there are a lot of great products that are out there. We work closely with like Canna Kids as an example, and Tracy Ryan and their team. They've been really pushing the charge for a number of years, specific to children with conditions like seizures. So.
Okay. Wow. That's really important. That's a very, very important aspect. I've heard a lot of the kids that take CBD always are able to have a better quality of life afterwards.
And that's it. And so what we're focused on here, what we're working towards, is the idea of having a metric that's reflective of quality of life. And so in talking with parents, with children again that have like autism as an example, they're looking at improving their child's quality of life. But the first question is, how do you measure that? Like how do you ultimately understand what the baseline is so you can say whether or not the child is actually doing better? And so that's a really important component, is understanding those baselines and ultimately how we're improving their life over time. And I see two opportunities or two examples where parents are really looking for help. And so one is, let's say your child has autism or is having seizures, you just want to control it, and so that's one side of the coin. But then the other side of the coin is like with I mentioned earlier Sequoia and her father Sean. How do you then optimize your child's health? Like they've been using the same concentration and regimen for the past number of years, but is there a more optimal, essentially ratio or regimen that could be better for quality of life? So those are the types of things that we're really thinking about, and how do we provide a science-based structured framework to again improve the child's life. So.
That's well. First of all, it's beautiful because I just couldn't even imagine a more important thing that we need right now, and it's also amazing to me because it's getting away from the old way of thinking. There's a lot of stigma. People hear CBD, they think of marijuana, they think of THC, and they think, I don't want that near my kids. Do you run into that? Because what you're doing, which is why I'm really excited about what you're doing, is you are another word, legitimizing, but you are giving access to, for example, my mom lives in West Virginia. If you watch the news out there, all you're going to see is that CBD is filled with dangerous stuff that's going to hurt you. And there is a black market, just like there were for those vape pens that caused all those issues. So it's true, everybody. You got to be careful where your CBD comes from. My mom gets, her friend gets a jar. It's like $10, and they go, "This is not CBD." Like, I guarantee you, because at the moment it can be pricey in different areas, but it's because the CBD community is maintaining and controlling the quality of what's happening. And right now you need to know you're getting stuff. It's another reason why I recommend to go through your dispensary, to go through Oro, to go through a company that has a way of knowing where the CBD comes from.
Sure, absolutely.
But sorry, I got sidetracked. I was going to say, have you run into issues with people still getting over those old stigmas?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's we did a ton of qualitative research going into even just the launch of Oro, and what we found was that people, don't know the difference between, you have cannabis, but then you have marijuana and hemp, and like what is the actual definition. And we have the federal definition, which basically is the THC concentration, which is 0.3%. which I don't know if it's totally arbitrary, but maybe a bit at the end of the day. So the educational piece is massive in that people are really starving for information. One challenge is that there's tons of information out there, you just don't know what's true and what's not. We personally have pulled together a medical advisory board. It's a team called the Board of Medicine. It's roughly 12 to 15 MDs, PhDs that are passionate about really rethinking how we can apply plant-based medicines to people. And so every product that we have, every brand that we have is actually run through our medical advisory board. And that's all the way down to not even just the products, the ingredients, but even the certificate of analyses in the molecular composition. So that's awesome. But we don't even stop there. We've also partnered with different labs in Southern California and Colorado where we are actually running our own third-party COAs, essentially certificate of analyses, to make sure that the products actually have what they say they do on the actual labeling. My general perspective is there is a lot of snake oil out in the industry, and so this really allows us to say with 100% sincerity that the products we have are absolutely the best in the market.
Yeah, that's great, because you need that peace of mind when you're going to go into something new. And again, that's why CBD tends to, I don't want to say, there's kind of a scary barrier that a lot of people have. And that's why I want to put on screen real fast for everybody this website, so you can check it out. This is the Oro website. And I think it just says it perfectly. Modern science meets ancient wellness. So we have the knowledge of thousands of years being mixed with the technology that all of us know how to access. And that's never been done before. And that's what we've been needing. That's what we've been missing. Because when I started using CBD, I didn't know anything about it. I didn't believe it would work. And I was amazed at how powerful it was. And then I still couldn't even find medical information. And so it's been difficult. And I was talking earlier before that, in a lot of ways we are re-educating ourselves about the world, but when it comes to CBD, this is our first go. We're not re-educating, we're educating. You are at the beginning of this educational process for all of us to raise it up a level. In your eyes, where do you see CBD being? I mean, where is it now kind of within our world, and where do you see it in 5 years?
Yeah, I think we're just really at the tip of the iceberg in terms of the research. And unfortunately in the U.S., because it has been essentially prohibited for so long, we're actually behind the curve there, whereas Israel, as an example, has been churning out awesome research for decades now. And relative to CBD, I don't personally believe it's the panacea. I was just talking to a good buddy of mine. They just discovered CBL. There's literally hundreds of cannabinoids essentially in the plant. They think roughly over 100. We're just scratching the surface on the efficacy of the different cannabinoids. And then the synergistic effects of each of them for different, ultimately benefits that people are looking for. We're also seeing a lot of research going towards the essentially cannabinoid acids or acidic cannabinoids. So that's essentially the precursor to like CBD as an example. There's a lot of research going on there. I think that's going to be really, really exciting over the next couple of years because being a precursor, you can actually extract them using other methods that may not involve solvents and so forth. But those look to be really, really exciting. So we actually are doing quite a bit of research ourselves in the area of cannabinoid acids. So.
Wow, that's great, because I thought maybe we knew everything we needed about CBD, but we're just
Certainly
now
not.
starting.
Quite literally, yeah.
That's good, because that offers a lot of hope for people like me and for a lot of the kids that have to deal with seizures and a lot of us that have the chronic illnesses.
For sure.
And guys, I want to say too, we're going to be wrapping up in probably about 5 or 10 minutes. So if you have any questions for Thorin while we're here live, please feel free to jump on in. We've got the questions here at the bottom of the screen, so everybody's here with us joining us. So maybe for people that say, well, where do I, like for example, somebody was just here saying, well, I'm feeling a little pain in my body. Mm-hmm. What would you recommend as the minimum milligram? Now it gets into kind of the prescription-y aspect. Yeah. Now with THC, you have to start slow and build because it's like salt. You can add, but you can't take it away, right? But with CBD, it's not quite that same. So dosing it or finding the proper milligram and dosage is a little bit more complicated. But could you maybe give us like a very basic sort of guideline or way to think about it?
Yeah, we generally don't touch dosing yet, just to be totally honest. We have, again, our medical advisory board that are actually outlining dosing guidelines as we speak. And so we're going to be publicizing them in partnership with that governing board. But what we generally recommend is to follow the manufacturer guidelines of what they're saying. In terms of a daily dose per milligram, we see anywhere from 10 to 50. We had a woman in just a couple days ago who said she had severe anxiety, and she took like 3 or 4 CBD mints at 10 mg each, and walked out and came back an hour later. She's like, I feel great. So we think roughly anywhere from 30 to 50 might be an optimal range. But again, everyone's different, so it's hard. That's one of the challenges that I have with traditional Western medicine is that we're all averaged, and I think we could be much more specific and again individualized in those types of recommendations. But
and that's again, I want to bring back to the website, because that's where it gets really interesting, because this website, oro.co. If you go to this website, and I'm going to put the link on also after the podcast, everybody, so you can go and check it out. But when you go here, it's going to help you personalize the type of CBD that can best help you out. And I just wanted to bring that out, because that is the important thing. Carrie says it's hard to know where to buy from. And Carrie, you're right. We were just talking about the snake oil aspect of it. And for as many, pure-hearted, honest CBD companies, there are a few people trying to cash in on the popularity of it. So again, if you're going to buy CBD, don't buy it from a friend of a friend of a friend, or the guy, I know a guy that does this or whatever. Make sure you can buy it legally and legitimately from oro.co. You can buy it from other markets. You can find legitimate ways. And if you have questions, send me an email and I'll ask. I'll vet whoever you're looking for. But start with oro.co, because I can guarantee that all the products in here are safe. And he's actually has a background in understanding how all this works. I failed biology class, so we're on very different ends of the bench right now. But we've come together because CBD does that. From whether you're looking at it in a scientific perspective or just I heard today perspective, we need to mix the two, and we need to understand it as a medicine. The only way we're going to do that is if we advance our understanding of it, which is what Thorn's working on for us and behind the scenes to continue to learn, because I have a feeling this is just the beginning of what you're going to be letting us know.
Yeah, absolutely. We're starting with hemp-derived CBD because it's really kind of a perfect, clean ecosystem. But as you're well aware, and we both spent time in the Amazon jungle, there's literally millions and millions of plants that we haven't even scratched the surface with. And I have a number of good friends doing research down in the jungle today. And it's really exciting. And what we're trying to provide at Oro is a structured framework to, again, quantify that anecdotal information and data. So we actually have a better scientific backing behind what we're doing. So
that's great.
Super exciting.
That's fantastic. Yeah, it is really, it's an amazing time to be here. I think about 20 years ago, when you could spend the night in jail for trying to get a little natural medicine relief, whether it's, we didn't know about CBD back then, we didn't really know what was happening. So, it's a very amazing now, and especially, for me, to get away from those pain pills and to get away from that cycle of nausea and all. There's so many side effects to it. I gained 50 pounds on radiation, and people say, we have cancer, you should be like a rail. But that's a misunderstanding, because when you are on chemo or you're on radiation, you can't get up. You can't get up to go to the bathroom. So the idea of working out is insane. And if you eat an apple a day, you're still going to gain weight a lot of times. When it gets to the advanced stages, it is different. But CBD altered and combated that. And I always say I cannot believe that a plant had the power to fight this huge, thing that took all my eyebrows and all my hair and everything. But it's amazing. CBD is
we've been open for about a month now, and every single day we have a miracle story of some kind. And all different, I would say, aspects. But we had a parent who came in, bought a tincture, didn't tell us what he was using it for, and then gave it to his son. He comes back a week later, and he's like, his son has autism, and he said his son is the most communicative he's ever been. That's one. We had another guy that was in from Dubai, and he said he had eczema his whole life, and he had a CBD oil, and the eczema went away. And he wasn't putting it on his face. That was, of course, oral. You know, I mean, literally every day we hear miracle stories. And again, I don't think it's the panacea that cures everything, but it certainly is a powerful plant medicine with strong efficacy.
What is the most surprising thing you heard that CBD ended up treating for somebody? What was it?
The one with, again, the child with autism and the communicative aspect. I mean, that was pretty surprising. But then, we continue to hear it more and more. Everything from sciatica to, you name it. We hear some sort of awesome miracle story. So.
And that's, and that's another thing too. We have a Western approach of, I have this problem, I'm going to find this particular medicine.
Sure.
But when it comes to CBD, I use it on days I don't have pain as just a holistic approach to keeping my body in as close into homeostasis as it can be, to keep myself as centered as it can be. I understand it also helps with things like your pH, your inside pH, keeping it in a more neutralized,
homeostasis.
Yeah. So it feels like even days where I don't have an immediate, it's not like it's so dangerous that you can only have a pill if you have a headache. It's a drug that is so good that you can use it whether you're in pain or you're not in pain.
Yeah. Although I don't know what the word drug, I like to use plant medicine. But.
You know what? Plant medicine is actually a better word. Yeah.
Because then the FDA isn't as interested. But
you're right. Good point. There you go. And you know what? And that is another thing. It's tricky because plant-based alternative medicines in America, especially, have been, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that there's a federal statute that the states get to interpret whether they consider an alternative medicine healthy or dangerous for their people.
Sure.
So it's bad. There's nothing to. There's no sense behind it. There's no logic behind it. It's simply each state can choose. I guess their opinion on it based on maybe how they interact with big pharma and how that is all coming through. And it's funny because they try to also pit it that there's sort of big pharma and there's sort of natural medicine, but we were talking about over 70% of all of our medicines come from plants.
Yep.
So the one and the two are the same, and sometimes that causes political issues, which can lead to legal issues, which CBD is still, it's legal. And if you have any questions about legality, that can all be answered as well. But it's legal in America. You can buy it online. It can be shipped everywhere. Countries overseas or maybe have some different rules. So check on the website. Check with me. You can also go to Preemptive, and he's got a list of what is going on down there as well. Sherry says, I went to oro.co and already have my recommendations. Fantastic. Sherry, if you don't mind, this would be amazing. I would love to get feedback from you right now about what you thought of your experience while we're sitting here with the founder. It would be invaluable. And I'm really glad you went, and I'm really excited to hear you're going to try CBD because, as you know, it just gets me going. Hi, Emma from England. We just had somebody from London that was talking about how it's really gaining a lot of strength out there as well. Sherry said, it took all of 5 minutes. Looking forward to trying the products. I'm a fibromyalgia, lupus, chronic pain patient with CPTSD off opioid pain management since 2008. So, Sherry, you are really in a battle, and I am very excited you're going to have some CBD to help.
It's awesome, Sherry, for sure.
Yeah, and I'm glad it was easy. And Sherry, that's what the important thing, because I want people to want to try it, to literally go to oro.co and do what Sherry just did. She said it took 5 minutes. I tried it online. It's amazing. You get personal. You type in your name is the first thing you do, and I love that because it's like, who are you? And and that's the beginning of your own identity and your relationship with CBD.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, the idea that we can have an individualized recommendation, and we're not just all averages. Whether it's like Tylenol or X, using data and technology is a better way forward. We have more data and technology than ever in the course of human history, but we're still not tapping into it effectively for health. So this is the first version. We're already working on version 2, 3 through 10, but really excited about the direction.
Fantastic. Yeah, and guys, this is the first time where you heard his background. He understands how to track what's happening online, how to give it momentum online, and that's what CBD needs. I mean, conservation needs the same thing. We're kind of building, but we still have the same thing. They're not utilizing all the social media enough. They're not utilizing ways to reach the people enough, and a lot of the people are still disconnected from the options that they have. And Sherry says it was a lovely experience the way the site interacts with you. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Sherry.
I felt like I was talking to a friend when I was on there, honestly. Like, you guys have a very nice...
Yeah, it took quite a bit of research, honestly, to get to that point. Where we want to be, a lifestyle type brand, but also educational and scientific based, and still connect to the consumer. So,
how long did it take to put this all together? I mean, this is no simple, small thing here.
It's been about 6 months.
That's amazing. I'm sure you probably did not get much sleep in that 6 months.
I'm still hard sleeping, but yeah, the CBD is definitely helping with anxiety. So, I've never had anxiety until recently, but yeah. My regimen, I do a tincture in the morning, and then if I am feeling anything additional, maybe midday I'll do a capsule. But yeah.
So there you go, everybody. That is proof that you can have CBD every morning and still be out there doing what you're doing, fully conscious, fully moving forward, maintaining all of your momentum, all of your energy, all of your excitement, all of your mindset. If anything, it's going to enhance because you're not going to be worrying about anxiety or pain or any type of thing like that. And, that's another thing that it's an aspect people never talk about too with cancer is the anxiety. I mean, I just had my biopsy, and I found out it came back. So now, until it's removed, there's an anxiety of, will it be gone? Will it not be gone? So even if I wake up and my back doesn't hurt or my head doesn't hurt, I am going to be taking CBD because it's the only way. It's the only way that I get through my life and my day to day. And and Carrie says, great information, thanks. Yeah, Carrie, definitely check it out. Carrie's a great water rights activist down in Florida. And Carrie, I know you've been also doing some water testing down there. CBD, I would really recommend it to a lot of my friends down there in Florida as well, because I know you guys have a lot of battles with what's happening with your water. I know there are multiple pollutants, and you guys really have a lot to fight. And there's things that we can't even diagnose right now that I know CBD would be able to help for. And again, we just want to confirm to everybody, try it. You cannot be injured or hurt by CBD.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
I think that's fair.
Yeah,
you have to be a little careful with any
claims.
But
again, that's true. I don't want to make any false statements. But in my empirical experience, the worst I've seen is that somebody just kind of gets relaxed. That's the only CBD experience that I've had. If you have any questions, just like Thorin said, ask your doctor before you start using it. If you're pregnant, make sure, just make sure, because every body is different. And we're not giving medical advice right now. I'm giving you my experience.
Sure.
But
Absolutely. Yeah, just to reiterate again, like what we're seeing, the patterns of the data are, again, parents with children, that are just desperate for plant-based alternatives. Another one are grandparents. And I don't know when the last time you guys have maybe visited your grandparents, but, last time I was in Washington, like the pill cases of these senior citizens, it's just absolutely ridiculous. And I was actually over at in the Valley here in LA visiting a cannabis shop and talking with one of the owners, and the number of old people that were just like beelining for the CBD section was ridiculous. Like walkers right here, because they're so again desperate. And so that's kind of the second cluster of people that we're looking to help. The third are people in essentially recovery from addiction. So we have a woman who essentially was a 10-year heroin addict and cured herself through CBD, and she has a bath salt that we're going to be putting onto the platform shortly.
Fantastic.
But yeah, we hear those miracle stories around addiction. And then the fourth is again in like pain in sports recovery specifically. And we're actually talking to the NFL Players Association because they're also desperate to potentially help get the players off of opioids or having opioid alternatives. So it's pretty exciting to say the least, and we're just scratching the surface.
That's great. So it could potentially be another way that we could fight this opioid crisis that a lot of people go through.
100%.
And that's amazing. Like I said, for me, it took me away from any type of chemical pill, and now I won't use them.
Yeah.
I just won't use them. I refuse them unless I'm in a surgery or something like that, and you need them for a day or two after.
Yeah.
But even then, I can't get through it unless there's CBD involved to counterbalance it.
Yeah, absolutely. There's always a time and a place, for Western medicine.
Yes.
So you don't want to completely discount that, but the bottom line is that there definitely are plant-based alternatives that we have immediately accessible. So super exciting.
This is great. I'm so excited to be here today.
Yeah, great to meet you, Eric. Love
Thanks.
your story, and great to connect, and hopefully we can make it down to the Amazon together sometime.
We got to do that.
Yeah.
That would be a good trip. Yeah,
For sure.
that'd be nice. So we'll go now. We'll go find some new plants. Very good. Is there anything else that you wanted to share that I maybe didn't ask you about that that you'd like to say to everybody before we head out for today?
Yeah, no, we're please check out the platform. And again, the idea here is that we are collecting anecdotal information. My perspective is that we know nothing, and ultimately the consumers should tell us whether or not it's working, relative to dosing, relative to the products themselves, to the composition, and that again, that collective good coming together will have that stronger health recommendation. So. That's really what we're looking to prove out, and then merging that anecdotal data with the clinical information, we really believe will have a strong footing to have a better individualized recommendation for health. And that's the vision is, health optimization, quality of life, those types of improvements, and we can do it through plant-based medicines like CBD.
Beautiful. Perfectly said. Thank you so much for being on today.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for taking the time.
Great to see you. Cool.
And thank you for making a way that we can all get to some CBD.
Absolutely. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. So that was really exciting. It's not very often that I get to sit down and talk with somebody whose passion has turned into something positive that we can all benefit from. And Sherry, I'm excited because you're going to be able to put your experiences and give that feedback and help somebody else in your position. So, again, I know today was a very unusual podcast. We're live, we're here, we're at Oro, right here on Abbot Kinney, and I'm in the back. In the front is a showroom, and there's like maybe 7 different brands that have open samples. If you're in Los Angeles, please check them out. Again, I don't know too many of the brands, but I do know Preemptive, which is the one that got me through, which is run by my friend Paul. And, you can order through Oro as well. And Alicia, thank you for being on today. And thank you for opening up about your experience. It's a very personal thing to talk about. I mean, think about that. Thorne talked about, it helped children with autism. I actually didn't know what to say at that point. I was about to start crying when I heard that. I mean, anyway, I can't talk too much about that. It'll kind of get me choked up, but suffice it to say, it's got tons of applications. Honestly, without CBD, I would not have the life I have. You can and listen. If anybody wants to try CBD, you can also call me. You can email me. You can get a hold of me in any way you can get a hold of me, and I will get the answers for you, and I'll make sure to transfer it on. I'm going to put these links down at the bottom after today's podcast, so you can go right to Oro. Sherry, thanks for that feedback. That was awesome. I don't think Thorne ever gets to get immediate feedback like that. I wanted to thank everybody for being here today. Carrie, Emma, Bruce, Mitch, Camilla, Andrea, everybody that we like to talk to, and Sherry, thank you for being on, and thank you for sharing your experience. And I want to say that to everybody, because just like Oro's idea is that we're going to get feedback, we are also going to do the same thing here. I mean, your experience, I have my experience, but you guys have your experience. So I like that we've built an online community. If you're like me, your friends get sick of you talking about conservation and animal rights and all this good stuff. So it's important we have this online community that we can talk to and be part of and learn from each other. And it means a lot to me. You guys are my family, and it's great to see you every Sunday. So, yes, and please, like I said, hit me up anytime. Thank you guys so much for being here. This is episode 12. It's amazing that we're here. It was good to take a break from talking about the problems of the world and talk about some of the solutions that we can offer here in the world, which are coming from the world. So, natural solutions. And plant-based alternatives, which is amazing. And thank you all for joining in the Conservation Conversation, episode 12. Again, very excited to have you guys here. And remember, it's our world. Let's talk about it. I will see you guys next week. And next week, we're going to be starting on Saturday. So don't forget, next week, we're going to start Saturday. And next week, we have a very special episode coming up. I will be putting out the ad soon. But we are going to be talking to Scott Wilson in Florida, who is an extremely well-known OG activist down in Florida that's going to talk to us about what's happening there. And we are going to have another special guest coming the week after from South Africa to talk some more about some anti-poaching programs. So this week was about healing. Next week, we're going to be back into the conservation aspect of what's happening out there. So thanks, everybody, for being here. It's our world. Let's talk about it.